Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's Dork Daily edition of Does It Suck? I'm Dave, and I am a Rob Zombie apologist. And I'm joined by...
I'm Baxter.
And...
Gabe.
And these two are our Halloween original film purists. So, let's get into it. Does the Rob Zombie, do the Rob Zombie movies suck? I say, no, they do not. They are good, they are underrated, they get a lot of hate that they don't deserve.
Everything he just said is wrong.
You already put apologist in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're apologizing for how terrible those movies are.
I'm only using that term because most people disagree with me.
Because they're logical human beings who like the Halloween movie.
I'm not a purist either because I'm someone that, like, we've watched Halloween 6 like 20 times together. I love Halloween 5. These are not revered Halloween sequels. I've probably seen Halloween Resurrection 15 times. But at least...
No one asked you to do that.
I know. At least
I did. I actually said, hey, let's watch Halloween 6.
The character of Michael Myers in some way with one of his classic backstories from two branching paths. The Rob Zombie movies, as I've said many times, and I'm not the first one to say this, once you give Michael Myers a backstory that makes him a generic American serial killer, he ceases to become interesting. When he was the boogeyman who had no point when he was 6 years old,
the
and
silent
snaps,
stalking evil.
That is interesting because you don't know why it happened. Even when they try to explain this later as a pagan curse or whatnot, we're all going off an original story. Yes, the Cult of Thorn, but it was a pagan curse.
We're not going to get into that.
We're well versed in Halloween 6.
We've watched it twice this month.
Yeah.
Producer's cut and theater.
Wow, this month?
Once you show the home life, you're like, gee, I wonder why he turned into a killer. He's killing small animals when he's a kid.
Because, okay, I get what you're saying. Having him be the boogeyman, he's the shape of evil, he's the embodiment of all that is evil. So going into the remake, when Rob Zombie was tasked with doing this, you don't want it to do the same thing that Psycho did. You don't want to do the same thing that so many remakes.
Want a shot-for-shot remake.
No. You want them to do something different. And he did. And the fact that I would be much more offended. I'm much more offended in general by bad sequels that continue the continuity of the original because I feel like they're tarnishing the original by existing in the same continuity.
But your argument is you want to change certain elements of the plot conceits, and that's fine. I'm a fan of some arguably really bad sequels of Halloween movies, even though I love 6. But if you keep Michael as the status quo based on what his personality traits are, that's fine. It's like saying, hey, we're going to make all these really goofy Friday the 13th sequels where Jason goes to Manhattan in space, but at least try to keep him evil and a killer. Like,
the classic character is firmly established by like 4 for Jason.
Because it's a different thing, and it's okay to be different.
There are respectful remakes like Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, 1990 is
Hills Have Eyes is better than the original.
Yeah, there are respectful remakes that don't reinvent... The Hitcher remake is great, that don't reinvent the wheel.
As much as people criticize it for showing him a backstory, yes, it doesn't make him the same Michael Myers as before, but it makes him more compelling in general.
No!
I feel like Rob Zombie did so much to try to change it that he made everything so disgustingly bad.
About killers like
his
that.
White trash aesthetic aside, by the time we get to the second movie, Laurie Strode is a hated character. I can't stand Dr. Loomis. There is one redeemable character in Halloween 2's remake, and that's Sheriff Brackett because Brad Dourif is a great character.
By Halloween 2, he's made him Jason Voorhees. He's seeing the ghost of his dead mother telling him to kill for mommy. That's Jason Voorhees. That's not Michael Myers.
We're not discussing that. We're talking about the backstory.
But it's the same timeline. This is that story.
But you also talked about how Rob Zombie has to change up the franchise.
He did. What I'm saying is, having him be the boogeyman, that worked as a motive way back when. It's the equivalent of Marvel villains like Malekith, Marvel villains like Ronan, who are just bad because they're bad, because they want to destroy things, just because. It's boring.
But once you see why that character, when he's no longer this force of nature... I said, you could go to Barnes & Noble and find 150 books on the shelf about serial killers with his same backstory that killed people the same way. It's like
I disagree with your argument because at this point, because depending on your age demographic, these people, if you do not surround them with the kind of credibility like a Jamie Lee Curtis and or Donald Pleasance, when by the time we get to our ninth movie, which is Rob Zombie's first remake, We have none of those supporting cast members who we've come to respect, so Michael Myers is our pop culture icon, so we're rooting for him to kill these people. He is the hero of the story.
Stop thinking of it as the 9th installment and think of it as a completely separate entity. And we do have
It is a
good
bad separate
actor with
entity.
that. We have Malcolm McDowell as Loomis.
A
who
very
we
unlikable
see-
Loomis.
I hate his
But that
original
doesn't matter. We see him with Michael as a child. We see that he tried and he failed. It makes their relationship more tragic.
I feel like the most tragic relationship in the first Halloween movie is glossed over within 5 minutes, and that's Danny Trejo's character who gets killed by him and when Michael becomes an adult over his masks. After that, I don't give a crap
There
about
are
Loomis.
scenes in the TV cut of Halloween 1 with Loomis, with Child Michael, and the movie never needed those scenes. They were padded filler for the TV cut of 1. The best cut of 1 doesn't even need those because we don't need them.
We can have their relationship
And I'm
established
saying-
via Michael doing nothing and Dr. Loomis
What does
going
the,
on his rants.
What does the remake take away though from the original?
Donald
Nothing.
Pleasance?
It makes him far less compelling.
But
and
what
interesting.
I'm saying is the Rob Zombie movies, the reason why I come in so hard with this, they're far from perfect. Rob Zombie has a style of his own, and it's not for everyone. I like that style.
I
It's
like
o-
Devil's Rejects, but I don't like that take on my Halloween
It's
movies.
okay that neither of you don't. But it got so universally hated, and I don't think it deserves that hate just for trying something new and different. Because that's what we want out of remakes. We want something new.
Well,
we want something unique.
The reason
Or
it
we
was
just
so
not have a remake at
reviled,
all.
Halloween fans can be pretty particular about the character. For the
What
same
character,
reasons,
if he's just the boogeyman? What development?
the classic character, but for the same reasons that you picked apart the new one, and you're like, I put it like 8th or 7th, that shows that there's a certain thing you want from your Halloween movie, and you said parts of it were a mess. Zombies movies were a mess. In fact, there's like
No, they're
3
not.
alternate cuts of the first
No,
one.
they're not. When I said when I said the new one's a mess, I was specifically referring to. I refer to a film as a mess when I feel like its tone is inconsistent. The Rob Zombie
It
movies
has 2 different endings.
haven't,
Yeah, there's
but
actually,
they have the same tone. The Rob Zombie movies are very unpleasant, but they're meant to.
They
be.
do have a grimy tone. That's
They have
true.
a grimy
It's-
tone
It's got a
that
consistent
stays
tone.
consistent throughout. To me, that doesn't make it
I mean,
into a mess.
I've never
I
seen
like-
a Twilight movie. They
I
might
like
have a
the tense
consistent tone either.
suspension that
doesn't mean I
comes
like
from
them.
Michael Myers looming around the corner, not feeling disgusting when he shows up because he hasn't showered
Yeah,
in
because
like
you'd smell him from a
15
mile
years.
away, and he looks like a bearded hobo.
But what I'm saying is, even in the movies that the rest of the series, even in the new one, they try to explain his motive. Oh, maybe it's his pursuit of Laurie Strode that keeps him going. Maybe it's... So even in the other films where he's just supposed to be the boogeyman, they're still trying to explain his motive. But you're saying, no, he's the boogeyman. He shouldn't have a motive. And that's something the
Which
other
is why a
films
lot of
try
people
to do.
don't like 5, 6. And that I totally understand.
And I'm saying it's okay to try and explain his motive. And when you show him as a child and you show his interactions with Loomis early on, you see
But the Laurie
Loomis.
Strode thing is still incorporated into the remakes.
And there's way
It
more.
is, and it helps to add to his motive. It makes it even stronger.
There's way
Well,
more
we could have
mystery.
used that without the white trash stepfather.
We could have. I'm not arguing that the Rob Zombie movies are the best ones ever, and you'll see. You saw my list.
You put Zombies 2 above the real 2 from 81. That's sacrilegious.
I like the weird, dreamlike, surreal quality of it. That's the only reason. And let's be honest, in Halloween 2, the original, not that much happens. It's very quiet.
It's your... Yeah, it's subtlety. Wait, you need your horror movies to beat you over the head. They're so ham-fisted. It's like, you can't take subtlety in a
It's
horror movie?
ominous.
I like
Michael
subtlety.
Myers
The
is
best
stalking
thing-
around a desolate hospital. There are children that are actually infants that are in trouble that you think might be killed by Michael Myers. They obviously
That's a
don't.
reference to the new movie, too. But even that one,
Yeah.
2 upped the body count and was considered really gory at the time. Today, you're looking like, this is
It's-
pretty subtle.
it is-
the best Halloween movies are
It is
subtle.
the best sequel of probably
You said
any
4
horror
is
movie.
boring,
It
4 is
follows
subtle.
right
It's a
after
slasher
the
movie.
first
Slasher
movie.
movies
The-
are typically not subtle.
immediately after the first movie and
best
carries it
one.
on
Paranormal
successfully.
suspenseful movie needs to be subtle.
No.
A slasher movie doesn't
The
need to be
best
subtle.
Halloween movie is subtle, and it's the first one. You agree the first one is the best.
I do.
The tone
It's
of
the one that's-
Halloween 1 is consistent in a movie like H2O, or
Yes, it
Halloween
is.
4 that you said is boring. Even 2 is like, it's way gorier than 1, but now you're like, it's pretty tame. The best Halloween movies are tame. Friday the 13th is what you're after. Those are the ones that are over the top, disgusting gore. They're stupid. They're funny. It seems like the character that you like is more like Jason Voorhees than Michael Myers.
We don't blame you because there's probably not going to be another Friday the 13th with the Paramount issues right
That's
now.
just rights issues.
Yeah. I'm not arguing they're perfect. I'm just arguing that they don't deserve the universal hate that they get. That they
won't get the universal hate, but they'll still be in last place.
They are worthy of.
Yeah,
they are way more. If I had a choice between watching them versus watching Resurrection,
I'll still watch it because it's a classic time.
Resurrection still has Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode. It can have Busta Rhymes all at once.
Directed by Rick
It's still part of the same canon. No
unceremoniously.
white trash crap.
Brad Laurie is
No, but it has
outstanding
Busta
Michael.
Rhymes
I agree.
fighting him.
Brad Laurie is a great Michael.
And a stupid
Underrated.
How is Tyler
reality
Mane, Chris?
show.
How is Tyler Mane there, Dave?
What's that?
How do you feel about Tyler Mane?
I like him. I think he brings an intensity to it.
At least you
Actually, I don't like. That's when they made him way too tall. How can this guy he has to hide as a tree? How can he melt in and out of the shadows when you're 7 feet tall? Even the new guy, James Jude Courtney, is like 6'3". Nick Castle was like 5'9". So Michael grew a lot between one and the new one.
When he puts the mask on, he gets tall.
Yeah,
he got some really tall
big
boots.
shoe lift.
He got some really tall boots.
But I think Michael, the sweet spot, is like 6'1", but that's just me.
Okay.
Don Shanks.
I'm just saying when he kills people in those ones, there's an intensity to it. An intensity and a brutality that is consistent to Rob Zombie's tone.
Sure, yeah. It just we're arguing that it doesn't work for Halloween because he fundamentally misunderstands.
It's just
the
far
character.
too visceral.
Misunderstands the character.
Granted, one of my favorite kills
A
is
horror film is far too visceral. Listen,
Halloween is very suspenseful.
Right, it's not Friday the 13th. Halloween is a
and even the movies that
the
people,
original one,
even
is.
the movie that
the one that's good.
Even the films that people argue are the weaker ones obviously have the bigger gore factor. Michael sticks a thumb in some guy's head.
They added that later because the audience
in part
needed
6,
it.
a guy gets
So
up
what
through
you're
a fuse
saying
box
is
and explodes.
you would have liked it better had it done more of the same of what the other series did.
If it was more subtle and consistent with the tone of classic Halloween, I would have liked it. I know he was trying to do his own thing. And like we've had this argument about Halloween 3. It's a great movie. The reason that it still is a bad rep is because people wanted a Halloween movie. If it was just called Season of the Witch, it'd have a better reputation.
And I
My
agree.
Rob
issue with
Zombie
that
made
is
killer
something
movies,
else.
like
that's
generic killer movie, and it wasn't called Halloween. Would you like it?
Yeah, I would.
Because
I like his other movies.
I might have appreciated it more if I wasn't expecting it to be a Halloween movie.
So you just admit that Halloween 3 doesn't deserve the hate, and
Oh, no, I
it
like
had
Halloween
more
3.
to do with people's expectations. But
Because
you're
of the name.
arguing that the reason you hate the Rob Zombie ones is because of those same expectations.
The fact that it is a Halloween movie with Michael Myers, though.
But
if you just
it's
call it
its
3,
own thing. It is not.
It's its
a
own
remake.
thing,
It does
but
not
it's
have
about
to be
Michael Myers
beholden
and
to
Laurie
the original.
Strode, so you're
That's
using
the
classic
point of
characters.
remaking it.
If
is
they
to
made
do
a
We don't want a
Spider-Man movie-
straight
different.
for straight remake from Rob Zombie, but we don't want his white trash aesthetic where he's pretty much trashing all the characters and then just writing his own backstory where he thinks it's going to be compelling.
But
it's
that's
just like,
what
we don't
you
want to
get
accept
with Rob
this.
Zombie.
If
What
they
I'm-
make a movie about
Michael
Spider-Man
Myers should
and
never
they change
speak.
his powers and
The
they
end.
make him they give Spider-Man like fairy dust wings or something like, we'd probably hate it because hey, that's not Spider-Man. Well, that wasn't Michael Myers.
If it was a good movie, I'd like it.
I don't see how you'd make a good movie with Spider-Man with like little.
That's a
fairy
bit of
wings,
an
but-
extreme example. All I'm saying is that he tried something unique and different. It's more tonally consistent than some of the other entries in the Halloween list.
Halloween
especially
3
the new
is
one.
leaps and bounds above Rob Zombie's films.
Yes.
But we're not comparing them because it's apples and
Tonal
oranges.
consistency doesn't necessarily make the movie. Like I said, I've never seen Twilight. Are they tonally consistent? Maybe. Doesn't mean I'm going to like it. There are a
No,
lot of
but it
movies
has
that
other issues.
maintain a consistent tone, but that doesn't mean they're good.
What I'm
Rob
saying
Zombie's
is-
tone is like disgusting grime that's at the bottom of Gabe's trash can. But
And to some fans, that's interesting. I like that.
yeah, I guess
I like a little bit of
different
grime.
strokes.
But what
I
I'm
still don't like it.
what I'm saying is, in general, a villain is more compelling when you kind of understand them. And in the
We
MCU,
just understood that Michael was pure evil. That's all we needed.
in the
Yes.
MCU, who's more interesting? Thanos with his motivation, or Malekith who wants to delete the universe just because he's evil?
Yeah, but that's not exactly the best example because Malekith isn't nearly as legendary as a character like Michael Myers.
What's that different about Malekith in that movie, though?
The fact that he's only featured in a handful of comics and he's just not a big character.
Okay.
Thanos is a legendary character.
And how much is Michael featured in the original with
All right.
no development?
All right. Let's take
all
one
you
of the most...
need to
wait,
know
wait,
is that
no,
he
no,
killed
I-
Judith Myers, he was in a hospital,
an
and
answer to
Dr.
this.
Loomis says the rest via
I
some
have an answer to
monologues.
this about knowing backstory. All right. Who's probably the most famous villain in all of Shakespeare? One of.
Claudius.
No. Iago.
Iago.
Oh, yeah.
Iago is evil for the sake of being evil. We've argued Iago's motivations for 400 plus years. We don't need to know everything about him for him to be one of the most compelling villains in Shakespeare.
I mean,
don't-
is Michael Myers an
Actually,
archetype? Sure.
we don't
But he's so effective as an
necessarily need
archetype
it.
with the human characters developing him.
Aaron the Moor is more evil.
But if they were to release an adaptation of Shakespeare where it goes into Iago's motivation,
No, I don't want it! No!
why?
Because that's the classic character which has endured for, 400 years as opposed to 40 for Michael. No, we don't need it. If it didn't need it, for all of these years that Othello has endured as a play,
And why are you so afraid of trying something new?
are we going to reinvent Shakespeare and make it better? Of course we're not. It's
No.
Shakespeare.
But we can still enjoy the original Shakespeare. I can still
Yeah, it
watch
doesn't
the
make me
original
want to go up
Halloween
and smoke.
and love it, but I can also watch the Rob Zombie ones and appreciate them for what they are
But I don't want,
without hating them.
An establishing play where now if you read Othello or view Othello, you're like, oh, well now I read this other play.
Well,
I
Iago
know this
had a
about
white
Iago.
trash stepdad who was
On a-
really abusive
on
to
a
him.
semi-unrelated note, Loomis's motivations are clear in this one because we've seen him work with Michael as a child. In the original Halloween, is Loomis not the worst psychiatrist that ever lived? If you met a psychiatrist talking about their patient, he is pure evil.
That's a thing.
He needs to be killed.
but he was right, and we
Where the
accepted
hell
he was
did he
right.
get his
He is
PhD?
acting as the character development for Michael Myers. He has no
The
dialogue.
character development
wait.
that he is missing.
They're Captain Ahab and the White Whale, though. I mean, how developed is the damn whale?
But if you
What's
did,
the whale's backstory?
if you did a version of it where they went into it, you shouldn't
whale
go
at
in
home?
hating it just because
Other
they
than
show
what we
it.
saw of Michael Myers killing Judith, Dr. Loomis is pretty much the exposition, sets up everything we need
Okay.
to know, and then he stalks Laurie Strode for no reason except that we find out they're siblings in the next movie,
let's say-
which is great.
Let's say
Better than any Rob Zombie movie.
it wasn't Rob Zombie. Let's say it was some other director with a different tone, different style.
Steve Miner.
But still trying to explain Michael's backstory. You would still hate it just because it's trying that new thing.
No, not necessarily.
If it made him generic. The movie made him generic.
As terrible as some of the sequels can be,
It made him
they
see the
kept
world.
the Michael archetype, which is what we want.
You just said
we
as
want.
terrible as the sequels are. So as an
I'm not going to
overall
argue that
movie-
Resurrection is good. It's not.
Yes,
I don't want to watch a
it's
movie
not.
Rob
that's-
Zombie
But I
movie is
know
a
that.
better
No, they're
overall
not.
movie
No,
than
they're not.
Resurrection.
because it's got Jamie Lee Curtis and it has archetype Michael that is the status quo, which we like. You can put him
You're
in whatever
cherry
scenario that we want. Just build whatever you want around him. Michael has to be a pure evil, quiet, stalking killer.
You are
and
telling
then you just build a story around him.
You are telling
why I don't
Hollywood
like YouTube
that they
videos.
can feed you
I would
absolute
hate us if I was
garbage
watching this.
as long as they give you the
I don't
Michael
like
Myers
other
you
people's
want.
opinions.
Yes.
And that's what's wrong with Hollywood today. Because no one wants anything new. or
What's wrong with
unique.
Hollywood today is that they give Rob Zombie a chance to remake Halloween.
He also put the franchise to bed for 9 years. That's how bad it was. The fact that he
Patrick
killed
Lussier
Michael
was
for
going to
9
direct the
years-
third one and have it be in 3D. Remember that?
I do remember
That
that.
would have been terrible.
It would have been like
Even
his
I
My
know.
Bloody Valentine 3D.
So, I get what the two of you were saying. That the character as the boogeyman is sacred to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it's not. I love the first one. All I'm saying is that
like 2.
it's okay
No, like 4.
to do something different. That's all I'm saying. And that just because someone
They
tries
already
that
did. It's called
different
Halloween
thing,
3.
It's okay to be different, Dave.
and that just because someone tries something different, it doesn't deserve everyone to jump down its throat. That it was an overreaction,
I'm sure there's lots of bad movies you've jumped down their throat for being bad.
but because they're bad.
Like the Rob Zombie movies.
I'm
Right?
not
Right?
judging the Rob. The difference is you went into the Rob Zombie one judging it just
No,
because.
no, I wanted to
No,
love
I
them.
gave it a good
I went
chance.
to Rob Zombies 2 in full costume and a mask, which you can't do nowadays in theaters. No, I
you
wanted
really can't.
to love both of them.
But you went in hating it, knowing the idea. That
No,
they
I
changed-
didn't go in
I
hating
gave it a chance.
No,
I liked that
I
as
wanted
Rejects.
to love it. I went in with an open
I wanted
mind,
to see
as
what
I
he
do
did,
with
and then I
most
walked
movies.
out and I
And at
saw...
what point did it lose you?
Probably by the time we got to the end of Michael's tenure in the asylum.
So it was seeing the backstory that made you lose it.
Yeah,
Because
it's like
otherwise,
the
the
last,
other half of the
that's the
movie is
problem.
just
The
a shot-for-shot
the
remake.
problem is it's still a bad movie. The last 40 minutes where it becomes the shot for shot, it's like even that. I mean, it doesn't succeed on its merits. Again, Michael's also way too tall to pull off the "I put the sheet on" trick. But yeah, forget it.
All right. So normally we end these where we try to find some common ground. I don't know that that's going to be possible here. Other than I think we can all agree as we drink our Pepsi versus Coca-Cola Hey, you're on my side for this.
Common ground. None of us
We
drive a Mercedes.
And
right?
No.
Okay.
In my mind.
And common ground, we all still love the original.
Of course.
Yes!
The original is still the best.
It all came back on.
It's not my personal favorite, but it is the best made one.
Okay. Thank God this is over. Thanks for joining us.
This is why I don't watch these things.
Bye.